Today's training, I want to talk to you about an introduction to government contracting, right? One of the things I try to tell people is that government contracting is no more complex than anything else out there. I say it's no more complex than riding a bike. When you ride a bike, you have to learn how to balance on that bike. It's these two wheels. You're like, oh my gosh. And if you've never balanced on a bike before, that's a crazy thing. And then you've got to, get a handle on the handlebars, right? You got to understand how to control the steering while you're also controlling the balancing. And then we make it even harder by introducing pedals to you. And now you got to understand how the pedals create power, but what's this thing that's spinning backwards? Nothing happens. You just spin in a circle, but when you go forward, you start going and you start understanding the power propulsion of pedals. And then how do you stop, right? Well, we begin to get your feet off the ground and stop doing the shoe stoppage and actually using brakes. But we got to use brakes to make sure that you squeeze the brake kind of slow, especially if you're grabbing the front brake, you don't want to go over the handlebar. So riding a bike is complex until you learn it. Then it's easy. Then you're riding around comfortable. Pretty soon you're riding without holding the handlebars. You're like, you're having all sorts of fun, right? And it becomes easier and easier for you. Well, government contracting is the exact same thing. It's only complex to those people who don't understand the rules and the process. But the minute you begin to understand it, it becomes easy. Everything in life becomes easy as you get more experience. So first you get knowledge, then you develop your skills, and then you hone those skills through experience. And when you do that, it's going to be easy. So that's why I want to talk to you today. Today, we're going to cover three main points as it relates to, just an overview or an introduction to government contracting. The first thing is how to get started. I want to provide you a few tips on just really what you should be thinking about when you're starting in government contracting, what you must do to succeed. And so specific things you really need to have in place or to do that is going to ensure your success. And the last thing is, who can you talk to? Who can you talk to out there that's going to help you achieve your goals, right? There's these mentors that I want you to be aware of, people that you can consider your early board of advisors, or even if you've been in business 10 years. And this goes into this last thing I want to talk about on the agenda here. The intro is, who is this training for today? It's definitely and primarily, right, for people who are just getting started. I really want to provide an introduction to them. But if you've been in business for a while, then you definitely want to keep watching, because it's a great reminder for you, even if you're experienced. I've got 20, 30 years experience in the federal space and in sales, right? I still learn something even from my own training. When I'm delivering it or I'm preparing it, I'm like, oh, how can I make that clearer? And by making it clear for the training, I actually make it clearer for myself when I'm doing it or helping somebody else do it. So we got a lot of good training. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my daily federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. And the process, A to Z, will, when you follow it, it will deliver repeatable, predictable results for you. Do me a favor, before we get too far, help buyers remember who you are. Put your company name and your core competency, 2 or 3 words, into the chat. Let them know who you are. And also, if you're open to connecting on LinkedIn, because that's primarily where we have a community, go ahead and let people know in the chat. Say, hey, and even on YouTube comments or anywhere else, let us know that you're open to connections. And if you're not on LinkedIn yet, come into LinkedIn. The last thing I want to say is thank you to our the GovCon Chamber of Commerce sustaining members. We don't take money from the federal government. We don't take money from larges. We're self-funded. People like you and me are the ones who make this training possible for businesses all across the country. And on their behalf, I just want to say thank you. By the way, Caesar Gus, just give me a little text on my phone to let me know the sound's good, because I can't see the chat. Sound and video are good. I'm assuming it is. So let's go ahead and talk about how to get started in government contracting. The first thing you got to keep in mind, and this is my opinion, but this is based on years, decades of experience, that you need to focus on one market only. I see this all the time where people are focused on commercial, state, local, education, nonprofit, and federal. And how can you possibly go to all those places? Even within just the federal market, it is kind of tough because you've got so much in you. You got DHS, HHS, Department of Defense, and Army, Air Force, et cetera. You've got EPA and Social Security Administration. You have all these markets within the federal market, if you will, right? You want to be on the health side. There's the VA. There's HHS. You want to be on the energy side. Department of Energy is there. This huge area, construction, right there with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and all the other places that deal with that. When you focus on one market, like the federal market, you're able to piggyback off of relationships. Your past performance go off each other. We use CPARs in the federal government to sit there and basically a Yelp review of how well a seller does for a buyer. Well, all the buyers can see those CPARs ratings. They have access to it. But in all the other markets, you don't have it. The one thing I like to say now is because we've all been through the COVID period, is that the federal market is COVID proof. The government just kept spending. Everybody else, including state, local, et cetera, all were impacted from a business standpoint negatively, right? I mean, all of us negatively impacted. But on the federal side, no, it kept really going. So keep that in mind. The next thing to keep in mind as you're getting started in the federal market is that there's three phases of making money in the federal market, right? In the federal market, I'll get perfect. Thanks, guys. In the federal market, there's three things I want you to pay attention to, and really in business in general. When you start a small business and you're in business for yourself, you've got a company, first thing you got to do is pay yourself. So if you're a one-person shop or two or three of you got together and started a company, you got to pay yourself. And generally the way that works is you take your expertise and go get paid for it. For example, I'm an IT person, I'm a project manager type person, I'm a salesperson, whatever that is, I can go try to get a job. And so instead of getting a W-2 job or even a 1099, you're getting a 1099 for your company, which we call subcontracting in the federal market. And I know I'm simplifying that, but what I mean is when you start your business, get paid yourself. A lot of us forget about that, and we jump straight to this third phase of trying to grow our company and know everything about everything, but we're not making money yet. And so we need to be patient for growth and impatient for revenue and profit in particular, so that you and your family are fed, and then the partners are fed. And then you go into the second phase, which is getting paid by the employees' efforts. And what that really means is, say you're in IT, you have 5 or 10 people out there billing on a project or on many projects, and their profit is paying for you. So now you don't have to be billable, and you can start working on growing the company, which is the third phase. And the third phase is about really looking at the bigger picture, starting to look truly out 2 to 5 years. When you're in the first couple of bullets or phases, paying yourself and getting paid, don't bother looking 2 to 5 years out. Look 1 year out. Look 3 to 6 months out. You need to make money so that you can eat and you can pay for your internet and things like that. And then you start moving forward. There's 3 paths to federal revenue. Just a reminder to those of you who are experienced, and it's new to those of you hearing me for the first time. In the federal government, there's really 3 ways to make money. You can subcontract under a small business. You can prime contract directly with the agency where you have the contract, or you can subcontract under a large business. And the reason I have these 3 federal revenue paths in this order is because this is how easy they are. Basically, it's easier to subcontractor under a small, and then it's also easier to get a prime contract than it is to work with a large. And it's because the risk threshold is much higher or lower with larges, right? Large businesses have a low risk threshold. They do not want to risk their business with their customers, and so they demand a lot of us. They really look for our small businesses to be experienced. Agencies are used to working with small business and giving them some of their first contracts, but you really want to get your experience, your security clearances, understanding how to build the government, understanding the organizational security or certifications you can get. And just this idea of understanding how to work with the government, that can really come from subbing under a small. And so that's why I call it the first path to federal revenue. Another thing that you need to keep in mind as you're getting started, and some of the things you have to do to get started, is you have to be visible where buyers are looking, right? And fundamentally, that means tools like DSBS, et cetera. And right here, I'm going to talk about some of the ways you can do that. So the 6 marketing assets you just want to keep in your mind as you're getting started in government contracting, or if you're experienced, refresh these, look at them and say, are they good? But your small business profile, that's a combination of your SAM registration and DSBS. Just make sure that it's fully populated, that when the buyer lands on it, it looks good. I say make sure you're findable and attractive. And attractive means if they're searching for elevators, your small business profile kind of screams that you're the elevator expert. The second one is a capability statement. Make sure it can be read in 6 seconds and people understand what you're saying. I have training, by the way, on each one of these, so you can go find separate trainings on all this stuff I'm mentioning. But as you look forward, right, these are the 6 marketing assets you should have in place: your small business profile, your capability statement, Basic website, just basic information. Yes, you can get fancy, but you don't need fancy, right? That's a luxury. The basic information is more than sufficient. Your LinkedIn personal profile and your company page, because people are going to research you. LinkedIn is where we're at these days. And then the last thing, and you don't need this early on, this is as you start getting more experience and you have more information to put into your deck, but a capability briefing deck is this basically an advanced capability statement, if you will. Okay, so let's talk about what you must do to succeed. And I'm going to pick up the pace because I want to make sure I get through the slides that I got covered for you. But the first thing that you must do, and when I was preparing this, if you've ever heard me train before, I've always said that the most important marketing asset is DSBS. 100 times more valuable than your website, right? 1,000 times more valuable. And you can go figure out why watching my training. But DSBS is the most important marketing asset. But picking your single core competency, this is the most important thing you can do for your company, even if you've been in business 10 years, 15 years, is to look at your core competencies, what you do, and say, what is my one core competency? What is our niche? What are we known for, so that we're seen as the experts? If you say that you do cloud and you do software development and you do network engineering and systems engineering and cybersecurity and data analytics, if you begin to say all these, and I'm just staying in the IT world, right? If you say you do all those things, anybody who looks in is not going to get this feeling that you're the subject matter expert. But when you're able to come down, people can see you as that subject matter expert. So you must pick a single core competency. Then when you're in a customer, you can talk to them about the world. But having success, especially when you're getting started in government contracting, is dependent on you niching down. They say the riches are in the niches, and that means having one core competency. The next thing you must do to succeed is follow a proven process. And I've got a process right here that I teach. I simplified the overly complex, ironically, processes that I was taught when I was coming through government contracting down into these 7 steps. And it doesn't matter whether you're selling to a small business, a large business, or an agency, it's the same 7 steps for the process. Research that company you want to talk to or that agency you want to go into so you know about them. And then target people in there. Begin to build a list of people, their names, numbers, and emails that you can reach out to. And then begin to call them, right? When you call them, and a small, large, or an agency, you're going to start building relationships and hear about opportunities where your company can fit with them, where your core competency is a need that they have. And from that, hearing those opportunities, you can write proposals, and some of those, a good portion of them, should begin to win you sales. So that's how you'll grow, is when you have a 7-step process, but you must have a process that you follow. Next thing I wrote down here was that you need to contact 25 people a day, right? If you're already doing $5-10 million in business and you're kind of billable and you're busy, maybe 25 is not the right number for you. You can move it down. But I'm telling you right now, if you're making, let's say, 500,000 and less, and you're not full-time billable, you should be calling 25 people a day. If you worked for me, I would tell you, you have to be calling 25 people a day. When you call 25 people a day, that's 125 new people a week. Imagine that as it goes out to a month and to a year, you're going to call thousands of people. That's how you get business, is by reaching out and developing the relationships that allow you to hear about opportunities. But you must first pick up the phone. And so contact 25 new people a day. And again, I got lots of training on how you can find those 25 people or hundreds of people so that you can call 25 a day. Next thing you must do to succeed, in my opinion, right, is to engage on LinkedIn daily. Every single day, come in for a portion of time, 15 minutes, 30, an hour. If you are not selling the level you want, you should be engaged on LinkedIn for an hour. An hour a day, looking around, beginning to look at those 25 people you want to reach out to, or you're finding companies or agencies you'd like to work with. Engagement just means giving them a thumbs up or a related content. If you do artificial intelligence, go engage all the artificial intelligence content coming out of the agencies, or maybe other companies are putting it out, right? I put artificial intelligence content out about the agency's AI direction, and people come in. Well, you can look who's engaging my stuff and then go follow them back to their own profile or to their own company profile to see what they do in AI. And that's how you can engage on LinkedIn. The last one here is I want you to write content daily. I used to be soft about this, but there's no reason. If you want to sell, if you want to grow a company, the modern era is social selling. And social selling means putting out content that demonstrates your company as the expert. You don't have to write a multi-page piece of content. You do not even have to write a single piece of content. You could sit there and just write 5 tips for using SharePoint. 3 things to keep in mind when buying a new elevator, whatever it is, right? I put in here, if you're looking at my slides, practice 1 word with 5 W's. And what I mean is, and maybe if you're feeling energetic right now, write down 1 word that describes what you do, right? On a piece of paper, or you put it in chat too, but 1 word: elevator, painting, cybersecurity, whatever it is. Then when you look at that, just write 5 W's around that and an H. And what I mean by that is, if I put elevators, I say who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? And when I look at how, and I'll just choose one, if I say how, I could create content by saying how to lower cost of elevator maintenance, right? Or something, or how to extend the life of your elevator. And I could put in 3 tips that say, I don't know, oil it weekly instead of monthly, or do this instead of this, right? Whatever that activity is, I'm not the elevator expert, you are, right? And so you could quickly write it. This is why I use a whiteboard, 10-foot whiteboard behind me at all times, right? And the reason I use it is so that I can put circles and lines off and I get ideas. And if you write this content daily, you will start being seen as the SME because you're focused on 1 core competency that's out there. Hopefully that makes sense, but that's what you must do to succeed out there. So let's talk about who you should work with to achieve your revenue goals, because being a small business owner is lonely. And if you're responsible for sales within a small business, sometimes that's lonely as well, because you've got kind of a lot of the pressure put on you for where you're making sales. And so whether you're a business owner or somebody in there, reach out to these mentors I want to mention. There's 7 mentors in the federal market that I talk about. I call them the 7 mentors of small business government contractors, or 4 small business government contractors. And so the first 6 are all tied one way or another around the Small Business Administration, an agency that your tax dollars is funding to astronomical levels to help small businesses succeed in America. So you might as well take advantage of what your tax dollars are paying for, right? So let's talk about some of these. The first 3 are resource partners, and the last 3 are staff, and I'll talk about them. But the first one is the Women Business Center. And the reason I like putting it there is because I want you to understand, because it's partially funded by the SBA, it has to serve everybody. So it's not just there for women businesses. So any business can go in there, even if you're a guy, right? The point of the women business centers is they tend to focus a lot more on driving towards the success of women business. And so their proactiveness is around women businesses, but the reactiveness is around small businesses. They're willing to help anybody out there. So reach out, identify your local women business center, woman business center. And when you find them and the other 2, you'll see that they offer some of the same services, right? Help you understand getting started with a business, some of the first things you should do to get started in a business. All 3 of these, Women Business Center, Veteran Business Opportunity Center, and Small Business Development Centers, they're all designed to help businesses get started, figure out what to do, get the ducks in a row. If you've got local certifications, how do you register with the government to get a business up and running, et cetera. They help with that basic stuff. And then they also help with more advanced stuff, like how do you get into federal government contracting? There's a lot of these organizations, these centers that do training on how to succeed. But the biggest thing about all of them is they have counselors who are willing to meet with you. Some of them have a lot more counselors, so they can meet with you sooner, but some might take 2 to 4 weeks to get on their calendar, but it doesn't matter. These are mentors to you. These counselors are dedicated to the success of small businesses. They have different levels of experience, right? All of us who have been in business a while have found some that have been really helpful and some that have not. But I'm really coming to this level of trying to teach you how you can get success from them no matter what level they're at, if you know what you want. So the Women Business Center is one. Make sure you reach out to them. The next one is the Veteran Business Opportunity Center. Far fewer of these, but if you can reach out to them and get on the calendar, find a counselor that you can sign up so that you can become a client of theirs. It's free for most of their services. But if you reach out to them, you're able to build a relationship. Again, let me tell you why it is so important with all of these groups is because all of them, independent of their experience level, they all kind of know people. The agencies, the buyers we're looking for, or the large primes you might want to work for, or other small businesses, they're known by the Women Business Center, the Veteran Business Opportunity Centers, the Small Business Development Centers, right? They're aware of them. When they have annual events, these guys all come together and they're trying to build on the success of small businesses and also help agency buyers find folks like you. So you should be on their radar and meeting with them on a regular basis. So the Small Business Development Center is that anchor for, if the Women Business Center is focused on helping women businesses, veteran businesses is helping veteran business, and you can still go there even if you're not a veteran or woman. The Small Business Development Center is helping all businesses, not just government contractors. Keep in mind, there's only like, let's say 300,000 small businesses in the federal space. There's like 33 million small businesses nationwide. So these guys help everybody. But one of the things that is about, one of the lines for success is 90% of success is just showing up. If you show up on their doorstep, if you're meeting with them once every month, maybe even every few weeks, whatever you lay out with them, and you follow some of their suggestions, pretty soon when people start looking for sellers like you, these people will remember who you are. So then the next three are business opportunity specialists, procurement center representatives, and small business professionals. Actually, the small business professionals are at the agency level, not SBA. But the business opportunity specialists are at the district office. The procurement center representatives, I think they're actually at the regional office. But these people are there to talk with you and help you. They have a lot of their own responsibilities, but they're willing to reach out and talk with small businesses. The business opportunity specialists, their primary activity, maybe not their primary responsibility, but certainly the primary activity is supporting 8A small businesses, really helping them go through the 9 years and making sure they're doing the right things, et cetera. But they're there to help the rest of us as well. And so reaching out, talking to them, talking about, hey, this is where I'm trying to go. Do you have guidance? Do you know anybody? How do I begin to move forward? You want to build these relationships, and every single time they tell you to do something, go away and never come back until you do it. Right? Do it and come back and say, Sally, thanks for giving me that advice or guidance. I followed it. Can I bounce it off of you again? Perfect. What would you recommend I do next? And don't take hours of their time. Schedule 15 to 30-minute meetings. The procurement center representative is responsible for agencies. And so they look over agencies to make sure that if something could go to a small, it is going to a small. These people have very strong relationships in agencies with the contracting staff. You want to build a relationship with the PCRs. Just find out where they're at. So you're attending events that they go to. You're on their radar once a month, maybe a little longer, and you're taking 5 to 15 minutes to have meetings with them. But you want them to know who you are, and you want to get their guidance on how you can keep becoming more and more procurement ready, basically more and more attractive to federal buyers. The last one here is small business professionals. Those are at agencies. These are the, sometimes people call them gatekeepers. I call them liaisons. Their job is to help the agencies find mission partners, people like you who can come in and help the agency achieve or drive towards their mission. They're not there to give you business, but if they can give you guidance, they will. And if they can bring you forward into the program offices, they will. And so you want to know who these people are and build relationships. I don't say in the 7-step process, just do outreach. I say do outreach so it leads to relationships, strategic relationships. And think about a relationship on a personal level, dating, marriage, whatever. You can't just do it once and ignore it and think you still have a relationship. No, you're dating every Friday night, right? Or you're having date night if you're married. Even when you have a family, you're putting energy into building relationships. Even when you might have kids, you're putting relationship energy into those relationships. These ones, it's the same thing. You need to work on those. One last group here for the 7 mentors are the PTACs out there. They're now called the Apex Accelerators. But these people are more government focused. Even though they help in various areas, they're more government contracting focused. And so not only can they help you on some of the basic stuff, but don't go to them about your basic stuff. Go to the first 3, excuse me. But these guys, they can talk to you about the opportunities that are coming out of agencies. They can sit down with you and look at an opportunity and give, help bounce it off and say, well, have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? They can even look and provide you guidance as it relates to your proposals, right? They're not going to be on your short timeline and they're not going to do the work for you, but they serve as an advisor. It's why I call them the 7 mentors or your unofficial advisors. The last mentor is us, the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. Hopefully you're tracking our stuff. Go to www.govconchamber.com. We have a ton of stuff out there, 300 plus federal trainings, a lot of directories. Go check us out. My point for this slide and what I'm talking about here on who you should work with is don't go it alone. Reach out, build relationships with these people, and you'll have somebody there as you start moving towards success and you have questions. So the last thing I just want to talk about is just reminding you, we talked about 3 things in this quick intro to government contracting, right? How to get started, what you must do to succeed, and who you should work with to achieve your goals. And if I give you a quick task, just coming out of this training, is go online to the SBA and figure out who your business opportunity specialist is. Who is your local business opportunity specialist? They're in your local district office. And you'll get their name, number, and email on SBA's site. And and by the way, it's in our directory as well. And somebody can put that in the chat. But ask for an introduction call. When you ask for an introduction call, just introduce your company. Say, this is where I'm going. What guidance would you give me? And then don't waste their time. They're very busy. 15-minute call in and out. And that'll help you really move forward on building those relationships with the people you should talk to. If you get value from our training, do me a favor, become a sustaining member today. Help us help a lot of other small businesses out there. If you're already making money and you're looking to go to the next level, especially in the federal space, right? Consider our BD Accelerator Workshop. It's a 90-day program. Love to have you in there if your company's at the right stage. Last thing to remember is that government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.